Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you for joining me. My name is Dr. Tom LaHue. Welcome to my channel, and we're going to be looking at the basic childhood message of each type, the basic fear, the message that you needed to hear. We're going to try and get through all 9 of them. We'll see what happens. But before we get started, I just wanted to call your attention to my website. It's listed in the description below. You can click on the link. TomLaHue.com is my website. If you're interested in booking a coaching appointment, you want to know more about your type, or you're trying to figure out what your Enneagram type is, or your subtype or dominant wing, all that kind of stuff. Also, if you're in a relationship with somebody and maybe you're a little sideways, we can help. So reach out to me through the website. Also, on the website is a link at the top to our certificate program. Start dates for new cohorts are listed. I'd love for you to sign up if you're interested in knowing how to use the Enneagram to help people and encourage people and make an impact. If it's making an impact in your life and you want to become an Enneagram coach or a relationship coach using the Enneagram, this is a fantastic certificate program. It's 6 weeks. We meet on Zoom, and you'll meet with me and some other students, and it's exciting stuff. It really is fantastic. In fact, I'm working on right now developing a second certificate program in relationship coaching, in Enneagram relationship coaching. So more information will be coming about that. Also, thanks to all my patrons. I really appreciate your support. Join in with me in supporting this channel. The link to Patreon is also in the description if you want to help in that way. I'd really appreciate it. So today we're going to talk about the basic fear of each type, the childhood message, the basic desire, how that desire can deteriorate and what it deteriorates into, and then the message that you needed to hear, or you need to hear as a child, as a young person. And the information is coming out of this great book, The Wisdom of the Enneagram. This is one of the first books that I ever read when I started my journey learning about the Enneagram. And I tore that book up along with a whole shelf full of other ones, and I'm still getting new ones. So let's start with type 1, okay? Let's talk about the basic fear of each type, okay? So for type 1s, the basic fear is listed as of being bad, corrupt, evil, or defective. So here's a young person, here's a child, here's an adult, now maybe you've grown up as a teenager, as an adult, and the basic fear is, I don't want to be bad, corrupt, evil, or defective. Good, that's great. The childhood message that you may have received as a type 1 is it's not okay to make mistakes. It's not okay to have flaws, or to be imperfect, to mess things up, to be lazy. It's not okay to not get it right the first time. And I think when we talk about childhood messages, it's important to keep in mind, this isn't necessarily the message that the adults around you intended to communicate. They may have communicated a lot of different messages, but which one stuck? It's the one you heard. The focus on the childhood message is on the receiver. It's the one that stuck with you. It's the one that you received. The overarching message that this type 1 child received was, it's not okay to make a mistake. And maybe you had parents who really actually very directly communicated that, or maybe you had parents that kept telling you it is okay, don't beat yourself up, it's okay. But for whatever reason, you as a little type 1 didn't believe that it was okay. That internal parent, was inside there scolding you, don't make a mistake, don't look stupid, don't be foolish, don't have to do it over again. Do it right the first time. The basic desire of type 1 is to have integrity. And of course, integrity is, to mean what you say and say what you mean, and to do the right thing, and to not have to do anything secretive that you shouldn't be doing. That your word and your actions are congruent. They match up. You do what you say what you do, and you don't have this secret, going on behind the scenes. That basic desire to have integrity can deteriorate, though, into something less than the basic desire. And so what does that deteriorate into? For the type 1, it deteriorates into critical perfectionism. The desire is to be a person of integrity, but that desire can deteriorate into just being critical and perfectionistic. The childhood message that you needed to hear, or that your young people or the people in your life that are type 1s need to hear, is you are good. And I might add to that, you are good just the way you are. That even though you're imperfect, you're perfect for our family. You're a perfect fit for the group that you're in. And none of us are perfect. None of us have it all worked out, or have it all straightened out, or have everything in our life the way it should be. And that is just perfect like that. We're perfectly imperfect. The message that you needed to hear as a child is, you're perfect the way you are. Okay? You're good just the way you are. You don't need to improve yourself before we accept you or you belong. Okay, so let's move on to type 2. The basic fear of type 2 is of being unworthy of being loved. You're not worthy in and of yourself to receive love from us. You must do something. And there's a sense in which all three of the worth types, 2, 3, and 4, all get that sense that they're not worthy of being loved or accepted the way they are. They need to perform in some way. They need to stand out in some way in order to be loved, in order to be accepted, in order to be cared for. So the basic fear of type 2 is the fear of being unworthy of being loved as I am, for just who I am. I need to then do something, in order to be worthy of being loved. And the childhood message that the type 2 received, again, it's not necessarily the one that was communicated, although it could have been, but the message that stuck with the 2 is, it's not okay to have your own needs. You're here to take care of others. And if you have your own needs, well, then you're being selfish. You're not concerned about others. And this could show up in a lot of different ways. I'm here to take care of you. I'm here to help you. If you maybe ask the 2, well, did you have a good time at the party? They might feel like it's selfish to say, yes, I went for my own enjoyment. Yes, we went and we were able to help Cindy have a wonderful birthday. It maybe come across feeling selfish if I just did this thing for myself. So it's not okay to have your own needs as a type 2. That's the message. Of course, it is fine to have your own needs, but the message that sticks with the 2 is that it's not okay to have your own needs. The basic desire of type 2s is to be loved. Okay. And remember, we all share all of these desires. It's not the most prominent necessarily for all of us, but for type 2s, the basic desire is to be loved. That can deteriorate, though. That desire can deteriorate into simply to just be needed. And so the association is, if I'm needed, then it's like I'm being loved. And so the desire is to be loved, but that desire deteriorates into just being needed. And so then I need to do things that will make other people need me. I need to, forecast what their needs are and then try to meet those needs so that I'll be of value to that person. The message that you needed to hear as a young person or as a child, as a type 2, is you are wanted. You're wanted. And I might add to that, you are wanted for just who you are. In fact, I'm going to put that in my notes. I'm taking notes on myself. For just who you are, not for what you do for us. You're wanted. Okay? For just being yourself. We want you in our group. We want you to be a part of this family, or we want you to be a part of this vacation that we're going on. Your presence is wanted here. Okay, type 3. The basic fear of type 3 is of being worthless or of having no inherent value. There's nothing about me that's valuable, just myself. I need to accomplish something, or I need to achieve something, or I need to be that which most people admire. So what is it people admire? What is it they applaud? And then I'll go run out in front of that and become the best version of that. And then I will be, I'll have value, and I will have worth. The childhood message that the type 3 received is it's not okay to have your own feelings or your own identity. That's interesting. I'm not sure I completely understand that. I would have maybe thought the childhood message of the 3 was you're not enough on your own, or you need to be the best in order to be important, or something like that. But this is interesting, and I'll have to think about it. You guys that are type 3s, maybe that immediately makes sense to you. It's not okay to have your own feelings and identity. I guess maybe let me think about that a little bit. It's not okay to have your own identity, so you need to assume a better identity. You need to assume and work toward an identity of something that's more prominent or something that's more significant. Maybe that's the intention. It's not okay to have your own feelings. I know that 3s can often be sort of cut off from their feelings. Although they're in the feeling group, they're in the center, which means they're cut off from their center. They're cut off from feelings, and often feelings can be problematic. 3s have a hard time engaging their feelings sometimes. It's not okay to have your own feelings. It's not okay to have your own identity. So you need to maybe aspire. Is that the idea? You need to aspire to a better identity. The basic desire of a 3 is to feel valuable, is to feel like they have worth and to feel like they have value. The deterioration, that desire can deteriorate into just chasing after success. Whatever that their group or their society considers successful, then the 3 might find themselves deteriorating into just chasing after success. The message that you needed to hear as a young person is you are loved for yourself. You are loved for just who you are, for exactly who you are and what you are, without becoming something better. Just the way you are, you're loved and valued for just what you bring inherently into the family or into the situation. Type 4, the basic fear of being without identity or without personal significance. So you can see all 3 of these, 2, 3s, and 4s, they all have the same idea or connotation of worth and value, okay? A fear of being without identity. And of course, in an objective way, I mean, hopefully even you as a 4, you can see that we all do have an identity. Even when we're not trying to, we're going to have, something that makes us stand out or different or unique in some way. But the basic fear of the type 4 is of being without that identity or being without that personal significance. The childhood message that the child received is it's not okay to be too functional or too happy in life. It's not okay to be too functional or too happy in life. I remember talking to a 4 in the past who said they remembered vividly, as a child being excited about a holiday, and they were just, thrilled, that this holiday was coming, and somebody in their family, humiliated them, like that was too childlike to be excited about holidays. And they said that it kind of died right there. They just said, okay, well then fine, I'm never going to get excited about a holiday again. And they've spent their whole life, just never allowing themselves to be too happy, or too into the holiday. And if you talk to 4s, often they'll tell you that, like they tend to be melancholy at special times or at birthdays or at holidays. When everybody else is happy, they sometimes have a tendency to feel depressed or disengaged. that's interesting. The childhood message is it's not okay to be too functional. It's not okay for you to fit in or you to be too engaged or to be too happy. The basic desire is to be oneself. And that can deteriorate into what the authors say, self-indulgence. And again, I'm not sure I'm fully understanding what they mean by that. I guess I would think it would deteriorate into the need to be special, or the need to stand out, or the need to be unique or different in some way. I'd be interested in what, if Forrest could help me understand, does that obvious to you? When you hear that, do you go, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The basic desire is to be myself, but that deteriorates into just indulging myself. That's interesting. I'd have to think about that some more. The message that you needed to hear as a young person was, you are seen for who you are. And I would add to that, and you are accepted as you are. You are seen for who you are, and you are accepted as you are. We see you, you fit in, you belong. I think Forrest really want to belong, but it feels like difficult to figure out how to belong without losing that need to be different or special or unique in some way. So the message that you heard was, it's not okay for you to be too functional or too happy, and the message that you needed to hear is, you are seen for who you are and accepted for who you are. All right, type 5. The basic fear of type 5 is of being useless, incapable, or incompetent. And you're definitely moving closer to the 7, because when I hear that, I can feel that a little bit. I can feel the sting of that a little bit. I don't really feel the sting of 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I get it. I understand it from like a logical way that, yeah, that's awful and I wouldn't want that. But when I read the type 5, I can feel the sting of that a little bit more than I've felt the other ones yet. And when I was writing all of this down and taking notes, I have a son that's 5, and so it's personal in that way. Of course, I have a wife that's a 2 and a daughter that's a 4, but I could feel this one a little bit more. So it might mean that we're getting closer into my group, the thinking group, or the fear group. So the childhood message, let's go back to that for a second. The basic fear of being useless, incapable, incompetent, that does strike me a little bit stingier than the other ones have so far. The childhood message for the 5 was, it's not okay for you to be too comfortable in the world. And again, I'd have to think about that, because that wouldn't have been obvious to me. I would have thought that it might have said something along the lines of, the childhood message is, it's not okay for you to need too much, or to need too much help, or to need too much involvement from others. That's probably what I would have said. But it's interesting that the author said, it's not okay to be too comfortable in the world. So you need to be a little uncomfortable. Again, I'd be interested in, 5s, when you hear that, does that immediately make sense to you? I'd be interested in your perspective on that. The basic desire is to be competent. To be competent. I want to feel like I'm capable, I'm able, I'm competent, I'm useful, I'm prepared, I'm ready for the moment. So the basic desire is to be competent, but that can deteriorate into what they say is useless specialization. That's an interesting 2 words, and it communicates so much, that I've specialized my focus and my resources and my ability into some area that is not necessarily that productive. And so I may be an expert, but am I an expert in something that is really challenging? 5 goes to 8, really challenging. Or is it an expert in something, 5 goes to 7, something that is a distraction away from something productive? So the deterioration away from, I want to be competent, is I'm extremely confident in something that doesn't really make much difference. Useless specialization. So you might think about, like, if you're one of those people, or one of those people that has lots of trivial information, so you can remember words to songs from 30 years ago, and you've got this storehouse of useless information in your head but yet when it comes time to do something productive, then you're scratching your head like, now how do I do that again? Or what's the right way to do that? And so I can see useless specialization. The message you needed to hear as a 5 is you are not a problem. Your presence is not a problem. You being here is not a problem. And you can kind of hear a little bit of the worth in that, like, you're wanted or needed or cared for, but you are not a problem. That does start to sting a little bit. So I know we're getting closer to my area. Type 6, the basic fear is of being without support or being without guidance. And again, 6s sometimes, they're in that thinking group, but they're at the center, which means they're cut off from their center. And so although they're overthinkers and they can really be great problem solvers, they sometimes aren't sure about solving their own problems. And so they want support and guidance, and they want somebody to sort of rebound, their discussion off of, their ideas off of, to sort of give them a temperature check, like everything's going to be okay, right? I need that reassurance. I need that support or guidance. So the basic fear is I'm going to be without support or guidance. The childhood message that the 6 received is it's not okay to trust yourself. It's not okay to trust yourself, so you need to have guidance. You need to have external sources or external wisdom that can provide that guidance for you. Okay, so let's see what else it says. The basic desire of the 6 is to be secure, is to feel safe, is to feel like you're going to be okay, like you're going to be secure. I wish I can identify with that. Who couldn't identify with that? The basic desire to be secure, but that can deteriorate into what they call an attachment to beliefs. And I think an attachment to beliefs is good, but I guess I would nuance that a little bit or clear that up to like an over-attachment or an allegiance, an unhealthy allegiance to my code or to my group. In other words, I'll be safe as long as I stay inside this group, or stay inside the parameters of these policies, or stay inside the parameters of this belief system, and without questioning it. I guess that's the idea, is like an over allegiance to a system rather than sorting out for myself what I think is the right thing to do, or knowing that inherently in my gut. So the basic desire is to be secure, and it's kind of like, well, if I don't question the authorities within this group and I just follow the code, then I'll be safe. And that is a deterioration, a desire to be secure. If I give my loyal and allegiance to this code or this person, then I'll be okay. The message you needed to hear as a type 6 is you are safe. I get that, but there's even a part of me that worries about that. Like, can I tell my kids that they're safe? Yes, but, there's always threats out there that I may not be able to manage. So I know we're getting closer to the 7 because I'm struggling with these myself. Is how can I really tell somebody they're safe if I can't observe and protect them 24 hours a day? I feel like I might be making promises that I can't always fulfill. And it's probably because as a 7-wing 6, I struggle with this somewhat myself. I've got that 6-wing that says, how can you really tell somebody that they're always going to be safe? You can't possibly be with them. Even if you were with them, they could have a heart attack, and there's nothing I could do to stop that internal problem within them. So you can hear the 6ness within me. But the message that, maybe let's just simplify it. If you're a toddler or a young person or a first grader, you need your dad to reach over and say, you're going to be okay, you're going to be safe. because you may not believe that yourself. All right, type 7, the basic fear. Here, now we're right over the target now for me. The basic fear is of being deprived or trapped in pain, i.e. stuck at the dentist office would be a good example of that for me. But being deprived, like there's so much out there, there's so many, that we could get or do, or so many experiences, or so many, opportunities, or so many products, and you're not going to be able to get them all or try them all. And that's the basic fear, a fear of missing out, the fear of not being able to sample everything, the fear of missed opportunities. The childhood message that the 7 received is it's not okay to depend on anyone for anything. And you can start to hear, you can start to hear a blend away from the 6 toward the 8, that people are going to let you down. But the 7 is you're not. It's not okay to depend on others, and I guess you could summarize it in sort of saying you're on your own, kid. You're on your own. So get out of the house and go occupy your time. Go busy yourself. And so the 7 steps out of the front door into a world of wonder and make believe, and occupies themselves. By finding things to do, by finding things to think about or to engage in. The basic desire of the 7 is to be happy, is to be, and I'm going to add to that, to be satisfied. To be happy or to be satisfied. And remember, the sin is gluttony, right? So there's an empty place that never can totally be satisfied in this life. That need to be happy can deteriorate into frenetic escapism. Frenetic is like darting around in a lot of different directions. Escapism is like, I don't want to be trapped. I want to have freedom. And so I'm just trying stuff to try stuff. I'm just doing things to do things. I'm just learning about stuff because I don't want to be bored. So frenetic escapism can be the substitute, you might say, for really being happy. The message you needed to hear as a child was, you'll be taken care of. That might be part of the reason why I married a 2. You'll be taken care of is, I'm here to take care of you. Your needs will be met. You will be satisfied. You'll be taken care of. All right, type 8. The basic fear of type 8 is of being harmed or controlled by others. Being harmed, controlled by others. At the mercy of other people. Other people will take advantage of me. The childhood message the 8 received is it's not okay to be vulnerable. It's not okay to trust anyone. It's not okay to let your guard down. So you need to keep your guard up. It's not okay to be vulnerable with people because they will use that against you, take advantage of you if they see an opportunity. The basic desire of the 8 is to protect oneself. To protect themselves financially, to protect themselves physically, to protect themselves relationally. This could take a lot of forms, right? To build a fortress around themselves. That desire to protect oneself could deteriorate into constant fighting or getting into fights that aren't necessary. And I would add to that the need to be against even when you don't really need to be. When other people are not against you, the 8 might feel like they need to be against others or against systems that are in place and the like. Okay, the message that you needed to hear as a young 8 was you will not be betrayed. That we will not turn against you. We will not stab you in the back. We will be on your team and we will go down with you. Okay? Type 9. The basic fear of type 9 is a loss of connection or fragmentation. And I'd be interested in knowing more about what they mean by fragmentation. I think of fragmentation like the relationship is fragmenting and separating. But I could see also like an internal way a 9 might fear like losing themselves or fragmenting themselves. And I wonder if it could mean both. Because 9s, you know, they tend to not necessarily, they tend to struggle at times. Some 9s, I might say, maybe not all, but some 9s tend to struggle with, who am I if I'm not connected to these other people? I need to look in your eyes to see myself, so to speak. All right, so the fear is a loss of connection. And that could make you, you know, sort of just like, well, then I'll do whatever I have to do in order to not have that loss of connection. The childhood message that the 9 received was, it's not okay to assert yourself. And, you know, I think that's almost right. It's not okay to be aggressive against other people. It is okay to defend yourself, but it's not okay to go into other people's territory and to, you know, to go after them and their stuff. But asserting yourself just means owning your own space, you know, owning your own decisions, owning your own words and choices. It's not okay to own your own space. It's not okay to assert yourself. That's the childhood message. The basic desire of the 9 is to be at peace, to not have conflict, to have tranquility in their life. That can deteriorate into what they call stubborn neglectfulness. And I see kind of in there a couple of things. Stubborn, like stubborn can be quiet, right? It doesn't have to be aggressive or assertive. It can just be sort of, I'm not moving. Although I might be nodding my head that I'm moving, I'm really not moving. I'm being stubborn. And neglectfulness is, I think, first of all, in my opinion, would be like a neglectfulness to your own agenda or to your own desires or to your own what you want. Just kind of not rejecting it. It's not an outright rejection. It's just kind of a mild rejection and neglect. Like, I don't really hear what I want. I don't really, if I heard what I want and I acted on it, I might lose connection with the people in my life. And so I just neglect my own agenda and sort of stubbornly stay where I am, maintaining the status quo. The message you needed to hear as a 9 was, your presence matters. You showing up and being a part of this makes a difference. Not only we're glad you're here, but your presence has an impact. You can move, you have the right to steer the boat, you know, you can steer the ship and it changes the direction of the ship. Being here and being a part of this group matters. So I thought this was a very interesting study, and I know I've read it a long time ago and I've thought about it, but it's been a while since I've really focused in on these basic desires and fears and childhood message. And as I was, you know, going through and reading this again, I thought, this is such interesting information that really gets down to the core, you know, of our identities and helps us understand more about ourselves. And if you're struggling between 2 types, like maybe you said, I could be a 7, I could be a 4, or I could be an 8, I could be a 3, I don't know. This might be one way to help yourself know what type you are, because if you're an 8, and you think you're a 3, and you hear the basic fear and childhood message and all that of a 3, you're probably going to say, yeah, that doesn't really resonate. But the 8 one, yeah, that really resonates. So this might be a way to help yourself or others if they're struggling between 2 different types. Might help you or others, you know, figure out a little bit more firmly what type you are. So I hope this has been helpful to you, and feel free to pass the video on to others, you know, if you think it would help them. And as always, guys, be present to life, and thank you for joining me for this video. Take care and have a great week.